All right, guys, here we go. In this quick video, we're going to take a look at Gareth Soloway's take on Bitcoin. He's old school stock trader and this new technology with Bitcoin and crypto. A lot of times is out of the wheelhouse of these guys. But first, let me do a disclaimer, disclosure, a little background information. At one time, I was a member of In the Money Stocks with Gareth Soloway, Nick Santiago. Two great guys, learned a lot, put in my fundamentals and foundation there, and then went on to bigger things. But also I want to mention is that during that time it was a struggle. Took on part-time jobs in order to pay for the membership and the courses, and then also trying to add to the count, because when you're starting, everybody knows that you're losing money, making a little, losing more. So anyway, I didn't want to take that out of the family budget. So, did supplemental, part-time jobs so not to take it out of the, family budget. And I say all that to say this, if you're, desperate like I was, or just motivated or whatever the right term is, you can make it happen and you can be successful. So anyway, let's go ahead and click this and see
I
what
want to
Gareth
just go over
has
this
to say.
again. We're going to go into Bitcoin and crypto next. Now, one of the things, and I always tie crypto to stocks, is because they are risk assets. We know that, right? Eventually, I truly believe in Bitcoin, and I believe it's the digital gold of the future. But right now, it's not. And I say this all the time, is that it started in 09, we're in 2023. It is a 14-year-old, right? Are 14-year-olds logical? Are they digital gold? Are they like the place you run to for safety? No. They're adolescents. They're off the wall. They're volatile. They're risk assets. That's what you have here. Now, if we look.
Now, Gareth, on the counter side of that, when do you want to get into the start of a new technology? Like the internet, for example. Did you want to get into it in the 90s? If you could have bought the actual internet itself, like you can Bitcoin, okay? Now, there's derivatives off Bitcoin you can play, but, that's another, topic for another time. But, purely looking at the technology, when was the best time to get into the automotive, business or, stocks, that sort of thing? Or, like I was saying earlier, the internet was back in the 90s, not, early 2000s, mid 2000s, whatever. So the earlier the better to catch these new technologies and see what they have for the future.
Look at this chart. Bitcoin topped in 2017 on December 17th. 4 to 6 weeks later, the stock market, the S&P topped. Okay? So right there, that's number one. Now, let's go to this chart. In 2021, on November 10th, Bitcoin topped. 4 to 6 weeks later, the S&P topped as well. All right, boom. So you guys are starting to see a theme. And this is, by the way.
Okay, two uh, situations doesn't necessarily mean, there's a theme or correlation. I think you need, more than two, coincidences or whatever to come up with a thesis that this is, set in concrete. But let's look at a couple of things here. First of all, what, crypto influencers don't understand is that Bitcoin bottoms approximately 470 days prior to the next halving, okay? And then Bitcoin does about a 15x, from the bottom, from that halving. And then, if, the halving is in, first quarter of 2024, then the bottom was put in November of 2022, okay? And then also, far as, people, trying to trade Bitcoin like stocks, it doesn't, Bitcoin doesn't trade like McDonald's, for example. Okay. And it trades like no other asset in the world. And we'll show you that here in a second. And soon it's going to become the hardest asset in the world to obtain. Okay. Now you look at Apple, you look at McDonald's or whatever, they can add more shares anytime they want to. They can burn those shares up by the company buying them, so on and so forth. But with Bitcoin, each halving, if you understand the technology, is that it gets harder and harder and harder to produce more Bitcoin, and there's going to be a finite number of Bitcoin. I mean, they can keep adding, shares to McDonald's. They can keep adding shares to Apple or Tesla. I'm just, throwing those out as examples, okay? And then what you need to look at is that uh, crypto is growing faster than even the internet did in the late 90s, okay? 10 times the users every 3 years, okay? And then by 2025, Bitcoin is set to have the highest stock to flow ratio of any asset in the world, including real estate, okay? And then further, this decade, we're entering the period where most technology adoption does an S curve. Okay, from the S curve it goes vertical, and that's where we're about to hit here pretty soon. Okay, so let's go to the next chart here. Okay, this is the monthly chart. Now he talked about the S&P and what have you, but let me show you this chart here real quickly. Um, in GLD, okay, the Spider Gold Trust, when did it hit its high? Okay, it hit its high around, let's see, August, September 2011. Okay, remember that, August, September 2011. Let's look at Bitcoin when it started hitting the charts. Okay, people actually were, you were then able to chart it. Okay, going back in 2011, it pretty much bottomed. Okay, now would you rather have been in a new technology that wasn't even 5 years old then? Okay, a 5 year old 10, 15, whatever, okay? You want to get in as quickly as possible. And then actually for 14 years, going on 15 years, it's done a hellacious, uh, run up. Also, look how it's affected all markets and the number of institutions it has affected, the number of world governments. What other stock uh, you know, uh, currency or anything else has had such a great effect or a major effect on so many countries, institutions, individuals, okay, throughout the world as Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, okay? And then let me show you this caveat, okay? Let me give credit and shout out to Nico over on Twitter. Give him a follow. He knows what's going on. And Bitcoin bottles approximately 470 days prior to the next halving. Okay, as you can see, what Bitcoin does, it consolidates, breaks out, runs into the halving, and then goes parabolic almost. Okay, a pullback, of course, because everything pulls back, nothing keeps going straight up. Consolidation, run up into the halving, and then almost parabolic run. Okay, pull back. You get the picture now. Okay, so that's why our thesis, we believe that we bottomed in November of last year. Now, if we take out that bottom, then I'll throw in the towel and go, okay, Bitcoin's a scam. It's never going to do anything. Cryptocurrency, was the biggest Ponzi scheme ever, put on mankind, so on and so forth. But anyway, I'm going to hold off on that. But, even the thesis I came up with, my statistics here, I was a few days off, about, 5 or so days off. And over a, 2 year period, I think you can be off a few days and still be pretty strong there. But let's go back to, GLD here. And let me type in, if I can, I should have been a little bit more organized with this, but let's just, take on, okay, Tesla, okay? And this is Tesla's chart compared to Bitcoin. Let's go ahead and take on Apple. Oh, invalid. Okay, let me fix that real quick. I know what I did. Okay, here's Apple versus Bitcoin. If you're going to see, talk about, trends. or things that match up. Everything you put against it, uh, is going to come out. Here's, McDonald's versus Bitcoin. I mean, it doesn't matter what you put in here. Uh, everything's going to zero compared to Bitcoin. Okay, everything's going to zero compared to Bitcoin. All right, here's silver going to zero compared to Bitcoin. Not that it is going to zero, but you get the gist of the information. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and carry on here.
This is what real technicians do. They look at the nuances of the chart. They find similarities. And one of the things that us as pros do, we don't put all our eggs in one basket. It's just because of this, it doesn't make me say, oh, well, Bitcoin topped 4 to 6 weeks ago, so it 100% has to be. But what it does is it tells me probabilities, right? Probabilities are everything here, guys. So what we're going to do now, I want to just show you this. We're going to go to the Bitcoin chart, and I'll analyze it obviously shortly, and we're going to go to some other charts. But here's your Bitcoin daily chart. All right? In mid-April, we made the high. Okay? Now, where is the S&P 500? Let's look at the SPX here. The SPX, short term, possibly just made a high 4 to 6 weeks later. We're going to find out, obviously, if that's the case, if this follows the Bitcoin model. We're going to obviously keep an eye on that. But I just wanted to show you that is that there are these trends, there are these similarities between cycles. The reason, by the way, so the reason why.
Yeah, it cycles. That's exactly right. Every 4 years, there's a halving, and Bitcoin consolidates 470 days prior to the halving, puts in the bottom, and then runs up into the halving. Okay, that's what people don't understand. Okay, this is a new technology, a new asset, and it now, technically, on the candlesticks and pivot level stuff like that, you can trade it like a regular stock, McDonald's, whatever. But as far as how it performs over the cycle of the halving is apples and oranges.
These cycles work and they generally, if not repeat, they rhyme, is because
That's right. Actually, it repeats almost perfectly to the day the Bitcoin cycle. Okay, that's what people need to, understand.
you know who's trading all of this stuff?
The Fed, actually. Okay.
People, emotion, greed, and fear. So the greed and fear, the greed that was in the dot-com bubble in 99 was the same.
Who's putting the greed and fear into the market is the Fed. Okay, the institutions, the retail players. Yeah, that might work with the intraday charts, 2 minute chart, 5 minute chart, whatever. But it's the institution. Of course, who runs the institutions? People do. They have emotions and stuff. Fear and greed, absolutely. But it's the big money trying to outplay the other big money that's really moving these markets.
Same greed emotion that was in 2007 and the same greed emotion in 2021. So if you understand that, again, charts are replications of humans trading via emotion, it starts to make sense why history tends to rhyme, if not repeat. All right, next up, we're going to go back to Bitcoin. I just want to give you guys your update on Bitcoin here. Bitcoin, again, you guys know I've been steadfast. I think personally 30,500 is the short-term top. I still am not convinced we're out of the bear market yet. I think that
Yeah,
people
we're out of the bear market. Like I said, that was the bottom was put in November of 2022.
that say we're out of the bear market are slightly jaded by hopes and dreams. I look at the charts.
We're jaded by facts, and the factors on the chart actually, Gareth.
As long as we haven't taken out 30,500 and stayed above it, I'm in the camp that this is still going to come back down. All right, we did fall back there. We fell below it. Okay.
Oh, let me show you something. I'm getting a little off time. First of all, let me show you here. To draw a trend line in an up in an uptrend, two lows must be connected by a straight line. And as you can see, all these rules for drawing a trend line, as you see here, They do not, guess what? None of these trend lines go through a previous high or low pivot zone. Okay. So I don't know why Gareth is getting off the reservation here regarding, see this line here just goes completely, through a previous consolidation zone up through here. I mean, technically, according to classical technical analysis, these charts aren't even drawn correctly. But anyway, let's go.
Now, notice how as we broke down over the weekend, number one, volume was light. Number two, it was a risk on period because of the AI bubble and the AI craze. We went right back to that trend line on the charts, and then we pulled back here. Now, again,
Now
what I'm
that
watching
trend line at the top is correct. Okay, I'll
for
give
is
you
do
that
we
one.
take out 25,870? That is the lowest point in the last couple weeks. Two hits, one here and one here. Okay, if we take that out, then you drop likely down just below 24,000. 20.
Okay, let me show you. Let me show you this. Okay, guys, I wanted to show you this chart here. This is really for our Patreon members, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind for educational purposes. Show it. First of all, let me take everything off there. First of all, what helped cause the recent pullback here? This was Sunday. This big green bullish engulfing clearing takeout candle was from Sunday. Okay, when they came to the agreement, the quasi agreement about the debt ceiling. Okay. The 50, you start looking at a flat 50 or 20 or 200 or whatever moving average, and then you put a little angle to it to the downside, it's very hard to get back up and over that moving average. So that really, helped with price action coming up into that zone. And then we had some other measured moves there that our Patreon members know about, but I don't feel comfortable sharing here, that caused that. So we had more than one factor, okay, is what I'm getting at. And that's another thing. If you have two or more reasons, if you can identify a particular formation pattern, number one, and then number two, have an additional factor on with that, like a moving average, fib line, for example, high pivot, low pivot, whatever it may be, gives you an 83 to 87% probability that your thesis is going to work out, and the market will move in the direction that you think it is. So, and we've proven that, millions of times. But anyway, here we go. And this was an original um, uh, uh, pattern that we had on there, going back quite a while. Okay. And one of the reasons being is that we had this high here to the low, about 22%. And then if you throw it here down, we are coming actually pretty close, and we could come into very easily that 200 simple day moving average. The reason why I say that, but right now the 100 is kind of helping us as well. So let me take that off. We break that, then yes, then we have this uptrend line, to help with, you know, support. Also, high percentage of the time, when uh, price hits an uptrend line that's been previous support, the third time it'll bounce. And as you can see, we did drop, what was it, 20 something percent here? Okay, 22%. So let me take that off. And then what did price do after that? From 22%, it ran up to over 50%. Okay. Not saying we'll do that again, but even if we do half of that, you know, instead of 50, 25%, we're back up, in this range where we previously, were trading. Okay. So, and then we have a major support zone here about that 24,600, 24,700 area as well. I, kind of hesitant getting into, a lot of this on there because it's mainly for our Patreon members group. But yeah, matter of fact, I even have this Go Path line on our Twitter if you want to look back on it. But let me give you this bit bit of information here too. Okay, wasn't going to do it, but I'll go ahead and share this with you. This is what our thesis is through the rest of the year into 2024 even. Okay, obviously more banks failing in 2023 this year through the end of the year. First quarter 2024. This is when it happens, guys. Okay, if you can just survive all these head games, all this negativity, the world's going to end. Um, Matter of fact, I'm going to come out with a video on that. Okay, the world's not. Matter of fact, the best time, to start a new business, the best time to improve yourself individually is when everyone else is pulled back. When all the competition is circle the wagons, hunker down. They're not making any moves. They're just trying to survive the day. That's when you start out. That's when you make your moves. Okay, and just by accident, we didn't, really know about it, but my wife's non-compete uh, contract was up in 2008, and we started a home health care business. Of course, you all know what was happening during that time. The whole world was falling out. But I mean, we were too stupid to know that. We just buried our heads and worked and built that company up. And no one would give us a loan. Small Business Administration, nobody give us a loan, nothing else. So, and actually, that was a blessing because by the time it was built up, a little home office. By the time it was, running and gunning, it was all cash. I mean, it's almost like building your own house, paying for it as every screw and every door is put in, is paid for. But anyway, then a few years later, there was a moratorium on home health care companies in the state of Texas, okay, meaning you couldn't open a new one. So what did we do? Put it on the market, and the second biggest home health company in the state of Texas bought it. Okay, boom. And if we had, paid attention to the news on TV, hey, the world's falling. All the banks are going out of business, and well, the deal. Nobody's made any money out there, and that's probably what helped us is that. There wasn't any competition. Everybody else thought, but we had to make it. I mean, that's another story in and of itself. But anyway, first quarter 2024, Fed starts coming out, kind of trying to date us, going, what's up? You know, we're going to start lowering the interest rates, okay? And then mid 24, the rate cuts start happening. And then what's going to happen? They're going to start printing money. If you think they're printing money now, fast, wait till that happens, okay? And then Bitcoin and crypto is going to go on a vertical parabolic run, like right here, through the end of 2024, maybe even to 2025. Okay, that's my thesis. So, man, this video is real long. I apologize about that. I was going to do a lot more, but I got carried away. But all right, guys, hang in there. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on the charts.